Yes, so let us begin with our today's class. So today we are going to learn about, see, our topic of discussion is proteins. Okay, now what are these proteins exactly? Proteins are actually, it is derived from a Greek word called as proteos. Okay, proteos means which is of prime importance for the human body. Okay, so prime importance because these proteins are the vital chemical substance essential for growth and maintenance of the body. Okay, so that is the reason why they were named as proteins. So now these proteins, you know that usually when the bodybuilders are there, no, to build the muscles and everything, they eat more amount of chicken, egg, and everything will be consumed because that will help them to grow and maintain the life. Okay, so that is the reason why more amount of egg, chicken, and everything, they contain large number of proteins in them. Okay, now let's see what are these proteins made up of. These proteins are actually high molecular weight substance. Okay, they are kind of polymers, we can call them as polymers. Okay, poly means many and then mer stands for unit. So these proteins are basically made up of many units of what is that nature unit, as yeah, many of them are saying that it is made up of amino acids. Very good. Okay, so that small unit which is there, that unit is amino acids. When many amino acids combine together, then you get a large heavy molecular weight biomolecule that is called as proteins. Okay, so now amino acids, as the name says, will go a little more in detail about amino acids you need to learn. Okay, now what are these amino acids? Amino acids, where amino stands for a group, that is amine group, NH2 group. Okay, and then your acids refer for carboxylic acid group. Okay, so that is COH group. So amino acids are basically made up of one NH2 group. You will find one amine group there and one carboxylic acid as a functional group. Okay, so such type of that basic unit is made up of two functional group, one basic group and the other one is a acidic group. Okay, now depending on where this exactly the amino group and the carboxylic acid group is present, they are classified as alpha, beta, gamma, and then delta. Okay, alpha, most of the amino acids which are there existing, okay, which are present, which we get from the nature, they are alpha amino acids. Okay, and this amino acid, generally when we represent, we don't write the whole name. Sometimes it is just represented with the only the three letters, starting three letters are there, no, with only those three letters are also they are represented. Okay, now I'll go little more in detail. I'll tell you what is alpha amino acids. I said based on the position. See, now here if you have a carbon, and this side if you have carboxylic acid group, and the other side you are having amine group, NH2 group on this side. Okay, remaining valencies will be satisfied by hydrogen or by the alkyl group. So now here you see this carboxylic acid is attached to this carbon and amino group is also attached to this carbon. Okay, so this carbon becomes alpha carbon. So such type of amino acids are called as alpha amino acid. If you change the position, now see here, imagine in this way if it is attached. Carboxylic acid is here and then you are having amino group somewhere else, okay, far. Then it will be called as beta. So like that it changes, okay. But then I said most of the amino acids what we get from the nature on hydrolysis are alpha amino acids. So we will be concentrating more on these, okay. Then general formula of these amino acids, as you know now, there are two groups present. One is amine group and the other one is carboxylic acid group. So you write center carbon, one side you write carboxylic acid COH group and the other side you will write amine group, that is NH2 group. Okay, NH2 group on this side and carboxylic acid group on the other side of the carbon. Remaining valency should be satisfied. Okay, carbon two valencies will be either satisfied by hydrogen or they will be satisfied by the R group. Okay, so this is a general formula of alpha amino acid. Alpha, I told you why it is called as alpha. This position is the alpha position. To this carbon you are having one side carboxylic acid group and the other side we are having amine group. This R group will change. Yeah, depending on different R groups, you will be getting different amino acids and the properties also will change. Okay, so general formula. Now we'll go for classification of these amino acids. So based on the nature of the amino acids, they are being classified. Okay, One is neutral amino acid. See, as the name says, neutral means what? Neutral means neither that side nor this side. Means there is equal number, no? Water we call it as neutral. Why? Because there is equal number of H plus ion and equal number of OH minus ion in the solution. So like that only here, neutral amino acids are the one where you will be getting equal number of NH2 group. How many NH2 groups are there? Equal to that you will be able to get carboxylic acid group. Okay. So such type of amino acids will be called as neutral amino acid. NH2 group will be equal to carboxylic acid group. Okay. Neutral. Example you remember, see, glycine is one of the example. Alanine is one of the example of neutral amino acid. If you want, I have given the structure also. See, glycine is the simplest, that smallest amino acid. You can see here, carbon to this side, carboxylic acid group, NH2 group, and both the valencies are satisfied by hydrogen. Okay, so glycine is one of the example. You can see one NH2 group and one carboxylic acid group. So equal. Okay, so then these are neutral amino acid. Even that side you see one NH2 group and the other side you are having carboxylic acid group. But here that R group is the CH3 group. Okay. Then next one is the second in that, based on the nature of amino acid. Second one is basic amino acid. Basic means the number of NH2 group what we have here. NH2 group will be greater than compared to carboxylic acid group. Okay, more number of amino group will be present than compared to carboxylic acid group. So that is the reason why it is called as basic, because NH2 is a basic functional group and COH is the acidic functional group. Okay, so if NH2 group is larger in number, it will be basic amino acid. Example, you see lysine is the example for basic amino acid. This is the structure of lysine. Okay, so lysine is the basic amino acid. Structures you don't have to remember as such, students. You just remember the example. That would be enough. Then acidic amino acid. So as the name says acidic, that means what will be more in number here? Compared to NH2 group, you will see that carboxylic acid groups are larger in number. So we will have more number of carboxylic group than compared to amino group. Okay, so then such type of amino acid will be acidic amino acid. Example, you see aspartic acid and glutamic acids are the example. Aspartic acid and glutamic acid. So the name itself has the acid name there. So you can connect and remember at least. Okay, aspartic acid, structure wise it is like this. You can see here, carboxylic acid, 2 carboxylic acid group is there and only one amino group is present. The other side also, you can see one is this side and one on the other side. Only one NH2 group you can see on this side. So glutamic acid, these are acidic amino acids. So that was the classification based on the nature of amino acid. Now moving on with the next classification. So this classification is based on the biological importance of amino acids. Okay. So here certain amino acids are there. No, they can be made by our own body. They can be synthesized within our own body. You don't have to take it from the outside diet. Okay, from the diet you don't have to consume them. Within the body itself, if they are prepared, then they are called as non-essential amino acid. Essentials means what? Essential means you need to go and buy it or you need to get it. Okay, get it through the diet. So here, based on that biological importance, we have two. So I said non-essentials are those amino acids which can be synthesized in our body. So non-essential, they are named why? Because you don't have to consume from the diet. So you don't have to take it from outside. It will be prepared within our body, inside our body itself. Okay. So example for that is glycine, alanine, glutamic acid and aspartic acid. These are the example of non-essential amino acid. Moving on with essential amino acid, this will not be synthesized within our body. This we need to obtain through the diet. So it is named as essential. Essentials which you need to get through the diet. Outside source you need to get them. Okay, like valine, leucine, isoleucine, arginine, lysine. Okay, these are the essential amino acids. Okay, next is about the properties of amino acids. Now, if you check out as amino acids, usually they are colorless and they are crystalline solid. Okay, since they are crystalline solid, you are doing salt analysis. No, if they are crystalline, you know they will be soluble in water. So these are water soluble. They are colorless, they are crystalline, and they are water soluble. And they will have high melting point because the behavior which is there, they behave like a salt. Okay. Actually, what should be happening? They should either behave like a base or they should behave like the acid. But none of the behavior is same. They are behaving neither like the acid nor they are behaving like a base. Instead, they are found to behave like a salt. So due to this salt nature, the bonding between the salt, ionic bonding it is, so they will have quite high melting point and the boiling point. Okay, so that it's found to be a little more higher. Yes, correct. There will be hydrogen bonding. When they are soluble, okay, when they are getting dissolved, that will be because of this bonding. Okay, and now this behavior, why they are behaving like a salt? That salt behavior is because of these two groups which are present here. That is the carboxylic acid group and the amino group. One is the acidic group and the other one is the basic group. See what happens during the reaction when they are dissolved in the aqueous solution, they lose one proton, okay, and that amino group is there, no, they will receive one proton, which leads to a formation of Zwitter ion. So Zwitter ion is the one which is also called as dipolar ion, contains both the acidic group as well as the basic group. Okay, they contain both that positive as well as the negative charge in them. So they are called as Zwitter ion. See how the reaction happens. I've shown you here. You can see this one, the basic amino acid having carboxylic acid group and then amino group. You know, amine chapters are over. Okay, in the amine, you know, there is a lone pair of electron. So there is a lone pair of electron present. They can donate this electron pair and bind with the H plus ion. Okay. So here this amine group which is there, they can donate this electron pair, and carboxylic acid is acidic in nature, so they can release this H plus ion easily in the solution. So this H plus ion will be released, and then this amine group, they receive that H plus ion. So when they receive that H plus ion, you can see here nitrogen, they lose their electron pair. So nitrogen will carry a positive charge, whereas here you see you will get a carboxylate ion, that is with C double bond O and then O minus. Okay. C double bond O minus we will be able to get on this side. So this ion you can see here, once this ion is formed, that Zwitter ion, they carry positive charge as well as the negative charge. Negative charge is there on the carboxylate ion, and this ammonia group, ammonia group which is there, it is carrying a positive charge. Okay, so such type of ion which shows both the behavior, okay, both the ions present in them, acidic as well as the basic groups are present in them, such type of ions are called as Zwitter ions. Okay, now there is evidence which has been found out that there is existence of this dipolar ion present. Okay, so there were many research which was done based on this, that the compound which is present is the Zwitter ion itself. For that, what is being found is, one is the melting point. Okay, so amino acids, they were found to be non-volatile. Okay, they found to be non-volatile in nature and crystalline solid. Okay, they are found to be crystalline solid. That means if they are in the form of crystalline solid, it is understood that they should be in the positive and the negative ion form. Okay, between one compound and the another compound, one ion and another ion, there is a bonding which is taking place. So that bonding can only happen if there is a positive charge and the negative charge. If they were in this form, that is in the normal amino acid form, then this wouldn't have been happened. Okay, they wouldn't have been existing in the crystalline solid form. Since they are existing in the Zwitter ion form, that is the reason why they are non-volatile and they are in the solid state. Okay, crystalline solid state, due to which they are having high melting point. Okay, due to which the melting point increases. Okay, so this suggests that there is large intermolecular attraction. See, this positive ion will start attracting with the negative ions over here. Okay, so due to which high intermolecular forces of attraction increases, so that intermolecular force of attraction will give rise to high melting point. Okay, so that is one evidence which they have understood, that okay, they don't exist in this form, carboxylic acid form and amino form, they exist in the Zwitter ion form. One more is when they are dissolved in the water. Okay, in the aqueous solution, they are able to get dissolved in the aqueous solution. This is supposed to be the organic compound. See, organic compounds, you know, they don't get dissolved in the water. They get dissolved in the organic solvent. But here the case was opposite. Okay, amino acids were found to get dissolved in the water and they were not found to dissolve in the organic solvents. Okay, so that means the reason why they are able to get dissolved is because of the polarity. Okay, the polarity which has been created during the reaction. So that is the reason why. One more evidence for us that these are existing in the Zwitterion form. Okay, so I said one more reason is about the solubility part. The next one is even the spectroscopy studies. There were many evidence which was done. One is spectroscopy study which tells about the carboxylic acid group and amino group. So they didn't find any carboxylic acid, free carboxylic acid group in this Zwitterion, neither they found any amino group. So they didn't get any answer for carboxylic acid and amino group. So that means these group are absent and they have got converted in this form. Okay. Then even X-ray diffraction study when it was done, they found that the compound is having this particular structure, NH3 plus and CO minus. They are in this salt form, okay, solid state form. They are not in this amine or carboxylic acid form. Okay, so that is the properties of amino acid. I hope you are able to get, students. I'll repeat once again if you want. Okay, what I said is these amino acids which are there, they were found to be colorless and they are crystalline solids and they were soluble in the water. Okay, so why they were soluble in the water, why they are existing this crystalline form, and why they are colorless. Okay, for that all these there were evidences. Okay, so what is being found is when they were dissolved in the water, okay, what happens during the reaction, that one proton from the carboxylic acid will be lost, and then amino group being basic in nature, they accept that one proton and get converted to a Zwitterion. Okay, that Zwitterion is the one which has both the charges, the positive as well as the negative charge, means both group will be present, acidic as well as the basic group. Okay, so this is how the reaction happens. We have here the amino acid group. So they lose one H plus ion during the reaction, and then this amine group which is there, NH2 group which has lone pair of electron, they will take this H plus ion readily after this is being lost. Okay, and then they get converted to this form. You see here NH3 positive form and COO minus form. Okay, so in this state they were found to exist rather than existing in the amino group and carboxylic acid form. Okay, so due to this reason they are existing in the crystalline solid form. They have high melting point and boiling point because of the force of attraction. This positive ion will get attracted with the negative ion here. Okay, so due to that force of attraction, electrostatic force of attraction, the melting point and boiling point is found to be very, very high. Okay, and then since there is polarity, when there is polarity, dissolving becomes easier in the solutions, in the water. Okay, water as a solvent, polar solvent, they will get dissolved. So they were found to getting dissolved in the polar solvent rather than in organic solvents. Now we'll go for the next properties of this amino acid about optical activity. See, you have studied this optical activity in haloalkenes and haloarenes. Do you remember what is the condition required for any compound to show optical activity? What is the main condition which is required in the compound? What should be there that they should show optical activity? You know what is optically active compound? When you take a plane polarized light and this solution, to this solution, when the plane polarized light is made to pass through, they are able to rotate the plane polarized light. Yes, very good. The main condition for them to show optical activity is that they should have a chiral carbon. Correct? No, chirality should be there in there. Okay, chiral carbon should be there. So here, see, in the this amino acid case, if I am taking the first amino, basic amino acid. See, if I write in this case, and I write hydrogen and hydrogen on this side, okay. What do you mean by chiral now? You said condition is that they should be chiral in nature. What do you mean by chirality? Chiral carbon means what? Chiral carbon means that carbon should be attached to 4 different groups. Correct? No? They should be attached to 4 different groups. Correct. Very good. So they should be attached to 4 different groups. Now, if I talk about glycine, you think this will be optically active? Glycine, you think, will be optically active in nature? No, right? Why? Because they are not attached to 4 different groups. Here you can see 2 hydrogen groups are there, which is of same kind. Yeah, if you replace this hydrogen by the R group, then we can say that they are optically active. Yeah, now here glycine, except glycine, whatever remaining amino acids are there, no students, except glycine, all the naturally occurring alpha amino acids are optically active. Okay, because they will be having this carbon, which is chiral carbon. We can also call them as asymmetric. Okay, these are also called as asymmetric carbon. Okay, asymmetric means where you don't have a symmetry. Similarity should not be there. Okay. So I hope optical activity is clear to you. Optical activity means when you pass the plane polarized light to the compound, if the compound is able to rotate the light towards the right side or towards the left side. And the condition for this compound to exhibit optical activity is that they should have different groups attached to them. Okay, if they are having similar group, you know that they would get cancelled by each other. They don't show any optical activity. So only glycine, except glycine, whatever we have the amino acid occurring in the nature, all of them are optically active. Except this is not optically active in nature. Okay. And all the amino acids which we have, no, they are L amino acids. L amino acids are represented where you are having this NH2 group on this side, okay, NH2 group on the left hand side, and COH group on towards the right hand side. Then those type of amino acids are called as L amino acids. How to write L amino acid? Amino group they are considering as a main one. If they are found to be in the left side, then it will be left L amino acids. If you find them towards the right side, then they will be R amino acids. Okay. Okay. Now moving on with the next. If two amino acids are present, okay, together. See, like I'll write down here. Two amino acids I'm taking as the example. If they are linked together, NH2 here, CH2COH, okay. One more NH2 group, CH3 I'm taking. Okay, one is glycine, this is glycine, and the other one is alanine. This is alanine, the second one, okay. One is glycine and the other one is alanine. See, you know here we are having NH2 group and this side we are having carboxylic acid group. So during the reaction, what happens is they undergo condensation. They lose one water molecule, okay. After losing one water molecule, I'll remove water molecule from this side, okay. From here, H will be lost and from this side, OH will be lost, okay. So after losing one H will be lost because to remove water, you require one OH group and one H group, okay. So after losing, what you will be getting is NH2, CH2, then CO, then here remains is H and then N, correct? No? NH actually, and then we have CH3 down and then COOH, okay. So here this linkage which is being formed over here, this linkage is itself called as peptide linkage or peptide bond, okay. It is called as peptide linkage or peptide bond. So peptide bond is nothing but CONH group. What is CONH group? It's nothing but the amide group, okay. It is also called as amide linkage, which is formed by condensation of two amino acids. Like how these polymers are being formed, we are talking about that. How many amino acids have combined together to give you that large chain protein molecule. So when two amino acids come together, there is condensation taking place. Condensation is where there is simple molecules getting eliminated out during the reaction. So that water molecule was getting eliminated. Simple molecule possible for us to eliminate when OH and H is there is only water. Okay, so they lose one water molecule and they give rise to this linkage which is called as peptide linkage, or the bond is called as peptide bond, and CONH group is also called as amide. Okay, CONH group is amide group. So it can also be named as amide linkage. So I've shown over here before also I told you when you take glycine, this is glycine and this side we are having alanine, okay. So when they lose one water molecule, one H you remove from here and one OH from this side, you get CONH linkage which is peptide linkage. See how the name is written, it is given as glycalanine, okay. Glycalanine, it's a combined word, or you can just take three words, okay. GLY and ALA, okay. It's a combination of glycine and alanine. So this is how it has been written, okay. Combined two words. So now when two amino acids combine together, okay, that bond which is formed, it is called as dipeptide. Okay, when two, remember this, okay, this is an important thing. When you have two alpha amino acids combining together, it give rise to a dipeptide bond. Okay, dipeptide. So if they ask you in dipeptide, how many bond is there, students? How many peptide bonds did you see there? When two alpha amino acids combine together, yeah, that will have only one. Okay, peptide bond is one, but then it is named as dipeptide. The reason is because of condensation of two alpha amino acids. Okay, so remember, two alpha amino acids, when they combine together, that bond is called as dipeptide, but the number of bond which is present is only one. Now, if three alpha amino acids combine, okay, if three alpha amino acids are fused together, then that peptide bond will be called as tripeptide. Okay, it will be called as This will be called as tripeptide, but tripeptide will contain the number of bond between them will be only two. Okay, three alpha amino acids, but the number of bond will be two in them. Okay, similarly, four alpha amino acids combine. Four alpha amino acids combine, that bond will be called as tetrapeptide. Okay, it will be called as tetrapeptide, but the number of bond present between them will be three. Okay, so bonding will be three. So you can understand like this, two amino acid, I'll just take them as a box. Okay, one unit fused with another unit. So you can see only one bond is possible. But if you have three amino acids are fusing together, how many bonds you find here? Two bonds are found. Okay, if you have four alpha amino acids, 1, 2, 3 and then 4, then you can see how many bonds are present. The number of bond present between them is 3. Okay, so always the number of bond will be n minus 1 compared to the number of amino acids. Okay, if you have n number of amino acids, the number of bonds we are going to get will be n minus 1. Okay, I hope you have understood this part. Yes, we'll go for the next one. I hope you have finished copying it down. Yes, so if you have, this is what I told you just now, okay. If there are three amino acids combined together, it is called as tripeptide. If you have four amino acids, it will be called as tetrapeptide, and so on, it continues, okay. So if you have many now, if there are many amino acids combined together, then it will be called as polypeptides, okay. So polypeptide we call if there is more than 10, okay. So if many amino acids, this you imagine as a small monomer of amino acids. So many amino acids, more than 10, when they are combined together, it is called as polypeptide, which itself is a polymer, okay. That is a protein molecule, okay. So the polypeptide more than 100 higher molecular mass, okay, which comes out to be maybe around 10,000, then it will be named as proteins, okay, higher ones. When you make them as a polymer, when it becomes a huge molecular mass compound, okay, then they are named as proteins. So proteins are nothing but polymers of amino acids. So if they ask you what are the basic building blocks or the basic functional group of proteins, they are nothing but amino acids itself, okay. So this is how the origin has started with, okay, many amino acids combining together. Yes, now we'll go for next part of it, that is classification of these proteins. Okay, so proteins based on their shape, they are being classified into two categories. Okay, one is fibrous protein. The first one is fibrous protein. Now why they are named as fibrous? Because here the polypeptide chain is there. No, they are parallel. Okay, and they are held together by the hydrogen and disulfide bond. Hydrogen bonding is there existing between them, and they are like thin thread-like structures. Okay, they are fiber-like structures, so they are named as fibrous protein. They are fiber-like structure, thin thread-like structures. Okay, so that is the reason why the name has fallen like that. And such proteins usually they are insoluble in water. Most of these proteins are insoluble in water. Example, let us see What are the examples for these fibrous protein? See the keratin what we have in our nails. Okay, this is insoluble no, in the water. So these are made up of fibrous proteins. Okay, hair, we have our hair strands which are held. See now in this, these are protein molecules which are held with the hydrogen bond. Okay. So keratin which is present in hair, which is present in the nails, silk, then myosin which are there in the muscles. Okay, these are fibrous. Muscles, when we see, when we eat this non-veg, you have seen they are like thread-like, you know, this chicken, mutton and everything, long thread-like structures. Okay, so those are fibrous protein. Okay, next one. The next category of classification based on the shape is globular protein. Okay, so now why they are named as globular? Because it is like a globe, like it's like the round shape is there, no, globe shape is there, no. So that is the reason why it's called as globular protein. Okay, so here what happens that polypeptide, the thread-like structures are there, no, they are coiled up like this. Okay, they are coiled up together and they give you this spherical shape. So they are called as globular protein, and most of these globular proteins are soluble in water. These are soluble in water. Example you see for globular protein. Example for globular protein is insulin. Okay, insulin is soluble in water. Insulin is globular, and then albumin. Albumin you find in egg. Okay, that egg white is there, no students, that has albumin. So they are also soluble in water. Okay, so that is a globular protein. Even hemoglobin, the blood, okay, so in that RBCs which are made up of the red pigment what we are having, that is made up of globular protein. So that protein molecules, the polypeptide chains are coiled together like this. Okay. So this was the classification. Yes, a quick revision of what we did today. So I spoke about proteins. Today you learned about proteins and you got to know that proteins are the basic building blocks, okay, which is required for growth and maintenance of the life. Okay, why they are named as proteose? Because it is of prime importance for the human body. Okay, it's a Greek word which has been derived. Now these proteins, they are made up of a small unit, they are called as amino acids. So that means when many amino acids combine together, you get a huge polymer compound that is named as proteins. Okay. And amino acids, they contain, as the name says, amino acids, they have two groups present in them. Okay, one is the amino group, that is NH2 group, and the other one is the carboxylic acid group, that is COH group present in them. Okay, then I told you based on the position of these amino acids with respect to the carboxylic acid, they are classified as alpha, beta, gamma, and then delta. Alpha means immediately next position if you find carboxylic acid group and the amino group. Okay, so then those type of acids are called as alpha amino acids, and most of the naturally occurring amino acids are alpha amino acids which we get. Okay, and then representation can even be done with three letters. As you have seen there, glycine was written as GLY. Okay, so this can be one way of representing the amino acids. Then general formula of amino acids, you see, to the carbon you have one side carboxylic acid, COH group, the other side you are having NH2 group. Okay, remaining carbon valency can be satisfied. This can be hydrogen. Okay, it can be alkyl group. Okay, so remember, this will be hydrogen itself, it will be fixed. Okay, this can change, it can be hydrogen, it can be alkyl group, depending on which different amino acids are formed. Okay, now classification we discussed based on the nature of the amino acids. Okay, so in that, three classifications we have seen. One is neutral amino acids, where the number of amino group becomes equal to the carboxylic acid group. So they have equal number of amino and carboxylic acid group. Example is glycine and alanine. Okay, glycine, you see, one carboxylic acid group is there, and one side you are having NH2 group. Here, alanine also has one carboxylic and one NH2 group. The next one is basic amino acids, where the number of, as the name says, basic. So that means NH2 group is larger than compared to the carboxylic acid group. Example is lysine. See here, 2 NH2 group you can find, and then one carboxylic acid group is there. Then acidic amino acid, where you find that the number of carboxylic acid group is more than compared to the amino group. So acid, see here, the names end with acid. No, you can remember easily then. Aspartic acid and glutamic acid. Okay, you can check out here, 2 carboxylic acid group is there and only 1 amino acid. Even here, 2 carboxylic acid group and only 1 amino group we are having. Then we saw, based on the biological importance of amino acids, they are classified into 2 categories: non-essential amino acid and essential amino acid. Non-essential means not required to be taken from the outside diet, outside source. It can be synthesized within our own body, okay, like glycine, alanine, glutamic acid, aspartic acid, okay. Then essential amino acids, it is not synthesized within our body. We need to consume this through the diet, okay. Example is valine, leucine, isoleucine, arginine and lysine, okay. Then proteins, properties we have discussed. I told you they are colorless, they are crystalline solid, they are soluble in water, they have high melting point and boiling point. All these are the reason because they are forming a Zwitter ion. Okay, how are they forming that Zwitter ion? Because the carboxylic acid group, which is their acidic group, they give out one H plus ion, and this amine group which is there, due to that lone pair of electron, they easily accept that H plus ion released from the carboxylic acid, convert themselves into NH3 plus ammonium ion and then carboxylate ion. Okay, so this ammonium ion can have a strong bonding with the negative O minus ion. This can bind with the positive N plus ion. Okay, so due to which, see, these bonding which is taking place is ionic bonding. Okay, so if you take one amino acid, they will try to have electrostatic force of attraction between another amino acids. Okay, due to which there will be a bond developed, and if many are present, you know that the electrostatic force of attraction also will increase. Okay, so automatically the melting point is found to increase, and they were found to have a crystalline solid kind of a structure. Okay, now due to this polarity, they were found to be soluble in the water. Solubility was there in the water, and then next one more property is they were not found to soluble in the organic solvent, because due to that polar nature, they were easily getting dissolved in the polar solvents. Okay, then optical activity we have discussed. So I told you, when you pass this solution through optically active light, you will find that except glycine, rest everything will show optical activity. Glycine they don't show because both the side it has hydrogen atom attached. But if you take any other amino acid, they will have R group and then one hydrogen atom. So they will show optical activity. And then L amino acid means what? If you are writing amino group on the left hand side, then it is called as L amino acid. If you write it on the right hand side, it will be D amino acid. Okay, L stands for levorotatory, D stands for dextrorotatory. And then how are these amino acids like combined together and they give rise to a protein, which is a polymer? Okay, so it is found that they undergo condensation. One amino acid and another amino acid undergoes condensation, where there is loss of water molecules. Simple molecules gets eliminated out, like water you can check out here, and then a bond is formed over here. Okay, so this bond is called as peptide bond or peptide linkage. So if two amino acids are reacting together, okay, one peptide bond will be formed. Okay, so two alpha amino acids, that bond is called as dipeptide bond. But in that dipeptide group, don't go on the name. This di stands for number of amino acids. The bond which will be formed will be only one. Okay, so three amino acids, when they are fused together, tripeptide bond is formed, but then number of bonds which is there in them is only two. So like that it continues. So based on the number of amino acids which are combining, you will see there is one less number of bonds being formed. Okay, and then we have seen that when many amino acids fuse together, it gives rise to a polypeptide. Okay, and then if there is more than 100 amino acids, then the molecular weight automatically will increase and they are named as proteins. Okay, then I told you about classifications of the protein based on their shape. So one is fibrous protein, where the polypeptide chains which are there, they are running parallel and they are held to each other by the hydrogen bond or through the disulfide bonds. Okay, they are having thread-like, fiber-like structure, so the name is fibrous protein, and these are insoluble in water. Example, I said keratin we have, then hair is there, wool, silk, myosin, muscles, etc. Okay, then globular protein, the second classification based on the shape. Globular, here what happens is that polypeptide chain which is there, the thread-like structure is being coiled up. Due to that hydrogen bonding, they get coiled up here, okay, and they give you that spherical shape. So it is named as globular protein. And these are soluble in water. Example, insulin, albumin, and hemoglobin. Hemoglobin itself has that name in them, globin, okay.